Hello, I'm Julian Whittle from Cumbria Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here with Caroline Robinson of the mental health charity Carlisle Eden Mind to talk about mental health in the workplace. Caroline, it may come as a shock to businesses just how big an issue this is.
Well, it is a large issue, and the stats are there saying that 1 in 6 workers are affected by mental health problems in the workplace. And the cost, it's estimated, for UK employees is between 33 billion to 42 billion a year.
Good grief.
Yes, so it is a substantial problem. A lot of that cost is coming from a thing called presenteeism, which is people coming to work when they're really not well enough to be there, and productivity goes down, which obviously has a massive effect on profitability.
Yeah. So how has something as major as this slipped under the radar?
With 1 in 6 employees suffering from a mental health problem, it's actually 1 in 4 in the general population that have a diagnosable mental health problem in any given year. And a lot of those people are suffering in silence because of the worry about stigma and discrimination.
They call it the last taboo, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's for exactly that reason that it slipped under the radar. We're talking about it a lot more in society. The media are talking about it a lot more, and in a more positive way as well, which is really, really helping with that anti-stigma awareness campaigning, which is fantastic. But it's still something that worries people in the workplace because it could have a knock-on effect. People are worried at the end of the day that if they disclose that they have a mental health problem, that they might lose their job. It's a real fear for people.
But the good news is that there is a lot that employers can do to minimise the impact of mental health, isn't there?
There is, and there's an interesting case study through EDF Energy's work with their employee support programme, and they've put a few things in place since 2003 in order for employees and also line managers to be able to have conversations around mental health a lot easier. So the first thing that they put in place was employees to have opportunities to access psychological services. So that was a small number of sessions for CBT through the workplace. And then shortly afterwards, being able to put in place discussions between employees as well as occupational health, HR and line managers to be able to provide the opportunity for colleagues to review work plans and for employees who were signed off work to kind of encourage a faster, safer return back into the workplace after experiencing levels of stress and anxiety.
You used an acronym there, CBT?
Cognitive behavioural therapy, so looking into ways of changing cycles of thinking within that psychological setting. It's a talking therapy and very, very useful.
Now, I've seen statistics from Mind that employees that do adopt good practice can save up to 30% of the costs of mental ill health. Is that right?
It is, and it is something that's trackable through surveys and through supervision with employees. And with this particular case study with the EDF, since their support programme was put in place, there's been a significant reduction in the percentage of employees off work by the time they access support through the support system. So from 28% of people in 2003 down to just 14.7% in 2012. So more employees have also successfully returned to work after mental health related sickness absence with a very low relapse rate.
Right, let's get to the nitty gritty of this. What are the telltale signs that employers should be looking out for?
Well, this is very much on a case-by-case basis. Everyone reacts to stress differently, and a situation one person would find anxiety-provoking might pass another person by entirely. But the best way and the most captual way, really, is to think about and look out for changes in behaviour and being curious about why that change has happened. So perhaps that could be someone withdraws or is less chatty. Maybe someone starts being late for work, or at the opposite end, maybe someone's staying late or arriving early. Anything that's out of character, really, and being curious about why that is without making any initial judgments.
Okay, and then how should employers approach this?
Well, there's a number of ways that mental health and wellbeing can be addressed, and I suppose the starting point really is looking at policies and procedures and making sure that the parity is there between physical and mental health. I think we tend to put a lot of things in place for people's physical health, getting people special chairs or desks and things to look after back problems. But so far, that parity really isn't there with the mental health side of things within policies and procedures. And it's about developing strategies that are appropriate for your workplace as well. So taking the stresses and strains for your particular work environment into account. So that could be perhaps if you're a high street bank, looking at the stigma that's still around staff getting into problems with debt. And that can either lead to mental health problems or be caused by mental health problems. Or for example, maybe if you're a logistics company or you do shift work, it's looking around the stresses and strains of being away from home for long periods of time, away from family, or looking at those shift patterns and things. So it depends on the person, and it depends on the workplace as well.
So what other practical steps can businesses take? And I believe as well that Mine can actually work directly with businesses.
We can. So there's a few different levels to which we can work with businesses, and that's businesses large or small. I think staff wellbeing is important across the board, and we can therefore work with people no matter on the size or shape of the organisation. We're actually taking part in a funded project at the moment through the National Time to Change campaign, which is a campaign to end the stigma and discrimination that surrounds mental health. And there is an employers arm to that campaign, and we can work with employers on improving mental well-being in the workplace and reducing that stigma that still exists. So there is actually 7 key principles that Time to Change have identified. They've been going 10 years now, so they're well seated to know what works, and there are 7 key principles that they say show definite signs of improving mental health in the workplace. And although I won't go through all 7 with you now, the key ones really are, the top one is demonstrating senior level buy-in. It's really crucial to the success of promoting well-being in the workplace, is getting senior leaders to be open about their mental health. And that creates a culture of trust, which can actually cause a seismic shift in how mental health problems are talked about amongst employees. And then again, it's raising awareness of mental health within your workplace, creating that environment where conversations about mental health are commonplace, and making sure that people know that their mental health is an important issue that should be taken care of.
Finally, Caroline, what should a line manager do when they identify that there might be a problem in the workplace?
Well, as part of a organisation-wide strategy to kind of handle mental health conversations within the workplace, it would be a really good idea to equip your line managers to be able to have conversations around mental health. And we're not expecting anyone to be an expert, but a lot of people worry that if they open up a conversation about mental health, they won't know what to do, they won't know what to say, and if it really is a problem, they don't know where to signpost someone to.
Right.
So equipping a line manager might be putting on some awareness raising and mental health awareness sessions, training sessions within the workplace, or bringing it into existing training sessions that are going on, and giving those line managers that confidence to have that conversation. We wouldn't expect someone to be an expert in cancer, for example. We wouldn't expect a line manager to be able to know the ins and outs of what's going on for someone with their physical health. And just the same, we don't expect someone to understand the ins and outs of what's going on with someone's mental health. But the fact is that if you sit and listen, that's part of the key to it. And then what we can do is just give line managers that confidence and those signposting places so that they know where those next steps are going to be. And if there's a clear strategy within the workplace for dealing with mental health problems, then they know what the next steps internally are. And there's really great resources through Mind. For example, the workplace, the Wellbeing Action Plan, which is a document that you can sit with either a new member of staff or a current member of staff and go through what stresses and strains affect their mental well-being and their best ways of coping with things, so that a line manager can know what to look out for and then know how to deal with the situation when it occurs. So, for example, someone might say, well, if I'm under undue stress, then I tend to go very, very quiet and withdraw myself, and what the best thing for me is to just have a walk around the block, or the best thing for me might be that I really need to talk about it, but I need you to initiate that conversation. And if that is all set out ahead of time and that line manager understands the needs of that staff member, then we will be able to address those situations a lot more readily, and it won't lead to the inevitable sickness absence that is obviously happening at the moment, which is causing such problems for absenteeism and presenteeism in the workplace.
Okay, thanks very much, Caroline.
Pleasure.